Hi, my name is Diane Hanlon with the Institutes. I am a member of RISE Professionals and I volunteer in the Education Committee. Today, I have a guest that I'm going to be interviewing, Ken Williams, and we're going to talk about the day in the life of insurance. Ken, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to start off by just asking a pretty simple question. What is your role?
Well, thank you so much for having me today. And my role currently is I am one of a few staff actuaries at the Casualty Actuarial Society. I've been doing that for about 5 years. But before that, I was like our 10,000 members, I was a practicing actuary at a US-based insurance company. And in doing that, primarily what actuaries are doing is estimating some sort of future cost or future liabilities. When people think about actuaries, they often think about either setting the prices for insurance products or making sure the claims reserves are set up for insurance products. So that's essentially what the role of an actuary would be at a company.
Okay. Can you elaborate on the intent of your role?
Sure. I mean, really, when you think about what actuaries do, especially for insurance companies, is it's kind of our role to make sure the company is financially stable. And in that capacity, we're looking at for all the insurance products that the company is offering, are we collecting the correct premiums so that we're going to be able to pay the future claims? We don't want the premiums to be underpriced such that we're going to lose money and potentially cause financial problems for the company. At the same time, in a competitive insurance market, we need the premiums not to be overpriced, or else we're not going to be able to sell our policies, because within a competitive market, other companies are going to undercut us. So those who work in the pricing role, that's the balance they have to make in setting prices. We also have a lot of actuaries that work in a reserving role alongside people like claims adjusters to make sure that there's enough reserves set aside to pay claims that have already happened in the future. So really, the role of actuaries is to understand the future liabilities of insurance companies.
That's fantastic. A pretty important role within the insurance carrier, I would say. If somebody were to do your job, what does their day look like? What is kind of the day in the life of an actuary?
That's a great question, what the day in the life is. And one of the great things about being an actuary is it's different every day. Our work tends to be very project oriented, whereas some other roles, you're kind of doing a similar product every day. Our days are very different every day. Each day is a different problem we're trying to solve. Actuaries are ultimately trying to solve problems for the insurance company. So on an average day, one of our CS members may be looking at auto trend frequency and trying to determine, is the number of claims going up or down? And do we need to make adjustments to our premium to reflect the fact that claims are changing? If you think about even as recently the last 2 or 3 years, in 2000, we entered the COVID crisis and people stopped driving cars. Well, the good news for insurance companies was car crashes, declined very quickly because people weren't driving anymore. As we've now come out of COVID and getting back to a more normal economy, auto frequency is increasing very rapidly. And how do we need to adjust our premiums to reflect that change in the economy? So that's what the kind of problem actuaries are working on every day. And how they're doing that is mostly using analytical tools. Actuaries spend a lot of their time looking at spreadsheets. They spend a lot of their time looking at statistical models using statistical programming languages like R or Python. And ultimately, they're trying to analyze insurance company data to develop solutions to solve those problems.
So interesting. Can you talk to me a little bit about the skills that are needed for the role of an actuary?
Sure. For a lot of actuaries, they actually start in college. Many colleges offer degrees in actuarial science. And within that degree, you're going to have a lot of topics. I think when most people think of actuaries, they think, hey, you guys are good at math. And that's true. In college, you take a lot of mathematics courses, you take a lot of statistical courses. Now, with the emphasis on data analytics and data science, you may have statistical programming classes, things like that. So you're taking a lot of classes like that. You also have to understand the business side of the insurance world. So frequently you're taking classes in like finance and economics and computer science to get better at computer programming. Those are all things you're going to be learning likely in college. You don't have to go to college to get these skills. But that's the things likely you're going to learn in college. But we do see frequently people with similar skill sets, who are good at math. Maybe they went into accounting initially, maybe they went into underwriting initially. They will say, hey, this actuary field is kind of interesting, I like math, and they'll join the actuary field from other professions within the insurance industry. Ultimately, the way to find a job within an actuary science, and I love this about our career, is we have a set of exams, and people are well aware of the exams. And if you pass a couple of the exams, you're going to be very, very high priority for somebody trying to hire you. So, it doesn't really matter what kind of degree you have, what school you went to. The actuary exams are how employers are going to look to hire you. So that's really what the skills you want to look at. There is a great website that I want to promote. It's called beanactuary.org. So if you're interested all about looking at how to become an actuary, I would recommend that website.
That's fantastic. Sounds like a fantastic resource. Is there anything else that somebody would need to do to prepare to be an actuary?
Sure. I think, again, people think we do all math statistics, but you're not effective as an actuary unless you can communicate those results to the other people working at an insurance company, or maybe you go into consulting and you need to work with the different clients. So it's very important for actuaries to have good communication skills. And I think that people maybe think of us as, that's why would an actuary do that? But you could be great at developing statistical models, but if you can't explain those models to other people in industry, you're going to be of no help. And one thing with the actual profession is we're making very key decisions for the insurance company. You mentioned earlier that is an important role. It's kind of our role to make sure the company stays financially stable. So we need to communicate with vice presidents and CEOs and boards about the steps a company needs to make in order to stay financially stable. And not having good communication skills is going to make you much less effective. So a strong communication skills is really going to help you become an effective actuary.
Wonderful. Are there any misconceptions about the role of an actuary that you can share with us?
That's such a great question. I think there's an old joke that what's an extroverted actuary? It's someone who looks at your shoes instead of their own shoes. So there's a very much a conception that actuaries are kind of people who sit in the back room and stare at a computer all day and then do these very complicated mathematical models that spit out answers that nobody understands. And that's not true about us at all. On a daily day for an actuary, you're working with lots of different departments. I would have meetings with underwriters. I'd have meetings with the accounting department. We need to meet with the claims personnel so we understand what's going on with claims. So we work with all the different roles of an insurance company. I would frequently go out in the field and talk to the sales agents to understand, what's going on in the sales force. So we're not sitting in the back office running reports all day. We're working with all the departments, all other groups within an insurance company or the other industries we work in. And really, we have to understand the business because, it's so important for us as people who problem solve for insurance companies that if we don't understand the problem we're trying to solve, we're not going to be able to solve it. So, those of you who maybe aren't in the actuary department and an actuary comes and asks you a question, they're just trying to learn more and get more data so they can solve a problem. And so, don't be scared of us. We're all friendly people, but we're not just sitting in the back room, running computer models all day.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I certainly learned a bit during our conversation here today. But I want to just thank you for explaining kind of what the day in the life of an actuary is. I know you have a fantastic career and could really add and shed some light to the industry about this. So thank you, Ken, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And now we know what the day of the life of an actuary is.
Well, thank you so much for having me.